Hello everyone, this is Marianne from Revealing Light Tarot. How is everyone this morning? I'm going to do something different today, and I want to break up things. It's been really heavy going, I think, with everything that's been going on with Trump in America. I also want to have a look globally so that we can get an idea of what's going on in the world. So I think, we're going to look at the elections coming up in the various countries. So first we'll go to Canada in 2019. I think that election is coming up, and it's between Justin Trudeau, whom we all know, of the Liberal Party. He's the current PM in Canada. He's a progressive and extremely forward-thinking, and you know, generally I think quite loved in Canada. That's my feeling, by his supporters. However, like most other countries around the time of the rise of Trump, there has been this right-wing populist rise, and the Conservative Party in Canada, led by Andrew Scheer, has really come in like, a disciple of Trump's, and is actually stirring up this fear and division that we saw in the US. So in 2019, is Justin Trudeau likely to prevail? Let's just have a look at that. So Justin Trudeau and Andrew Scheer. Justin Trudeau, Andrew Scheer. Trudeau, Scheer. I should say that Trudeau has actually come out and said that the elections in 2019 is likely to be very, very nasty. No surprises there with these populist right-wingers, is there? So, is Justin Trudeau likely to win the 2019 election in Canada? Okay. So straight away I'm seeing, I'll bring the laptop down, straight away I'm seeing he's actually being helped by Trump's position. So there are elements of what has happened to the Democrats in the US. There are elements here for Trudeau. So it's almost like he was being restricted by his own, I guess. Yes, the forces are coming against Trudeau, but all he has to do is take that blindfold off, okay? The ropes aren't securely tightened around him. There are gaps in those swords there. It is relatively easy to break through from. So if Trudeau is having this, experience of being denigrated by this populist right-wingers, and criticised, and there's the same sort of elements that we saw coming from Trump are coming through for him. It's actually, this card is actually telling me it's not really going to be successful. So Trudeau is likely to prevail. These slings and arrows that are being shot at him are actually not going to do permanent damage. So far I'm seeing he may well be successful in 2019. But we shouldn't underestimate the hard work that's going to be there. He's actually going to have to take a good hard look at his agenda, okay? There are real calls, aside from the populist right-wingers, there actually are real calls for reform in Canada. And it's a bit like the situation in the US with the Democrats not, taking their eye off the ball in relation to what was happening in the Midwest. There are similarities there. So Justin Trudeau is really going to have to take a good, hard look at how his government is performing for everyone. Okay, not just the progressives, but for everyone. And he may even have to amend his agenda slightly. Okay. It's sort of like the getting of wisdom for Trudeau. He's actually going to have to mature as a politician. But look, the Knight of Pentacles is coming forward, and this is like patience and reliability and hard work. So this is like, I'm thinking is Trudeau's hard work is actually going to pay off. I'm just going to pull another one. Yep, Knight of Cups. These are Trudeau's, okay? This is like he's coming forward again, is going to be able to get the electorate on side. He's going to be offering that kind of emotional commitment, passion that the electorate is attracted to. But it's by no means a pushover for Trudeau. No means at all, okay? Even though we've got what's going on in the US, there's a lot of hard work for him to do, and he is under attack at the moment, without a doubt. He's under attack, but these slings and arrows, if you like, they're actually he's going to be able to break out and break free of that with hard work. He will have to consider his agenda and make sure that he's governing for everyone, including the right-wingers. Okay, so that's the test for Justin Trudeau, but he's the Knight there. Okay, he's the Knight. He's going to come forward. And at this stage, you know, because destiny is not set in stone, at this stage it looks like he's going to be successful. So then we'll go. Now, there's not an election scheduled for the UK in 2019, but it is so precarious with Brexit. I have read on Brexit for those people from England that follow this channel. At that point in time, even though the EU was going to accept May's plan, it looked like it was going to really struggle in the UK Parliament, that it might not have the support there, and that might provoke and lead to a general election. So let's put our imagination hat on, and let's say that Brexit doesn't get through the Parliament, that there is an election. What would happen to May? Okay, so she's the leader of the Tories. You know, if she went up against Jeremy Corbyn again, who's the leader of Labour in England, what actually would happen in that scenario? As you know, the last election was so very, very close, and without the support of that Irish party, the DUP, then May wouldn't have been able to form a government. So it is so precarious over in England. It really is. In the United Kingdom, really is. All these situations call for a more balanced, a deeper reading, and we will get to that. But right now, I just wanted to sort of whip around the globe and just have like that snapshot view to see what was happening. So I'll pull the cards down, and we'll put our imaginary hat on, and we'll say, if May went, or someone from the Tories went up against Jeremy Corbyn, what would happen in a general election? So I'll bring the laptop down and we'll have a look. Okay, so if there was an election in the UK in the 2019, who would win? The Tories. Would the Tories win if there was an election held in 2019 provoked by Brexit? The Tories. Would the Tories win? The Tories win. I have to say, I'm getting an image of Winston Churchill lighting his cigar. I have no idea what that means. Maybe he's just there watching on. We'll see. Okay, would the Tories win if the general election in England was held in 2019? The Tories beat Jeremy Corbyn. So straight away we've got loss coming forward. This is walking away. Now this could actually mean Theresa May wouldn't even contest election. She might actually be rolled in front of it. So it could either mean that she wouldn't be the leader of the Tories, or it could mean that if there was an election held, that there would be loss there for the Tories and Jeremy Corbyn, or whoever is leading the Labor Party at that time would win. And look, it's all around the relationships with the people. So there's a feeling in the UK according to these cards, that the government, and I guess this is quite common around the world, that the government has actually forgotten who they're governing for. So there's also issues with the Tories and the relationships that they've had, who they've done deals with, how they've stayed in power, how they've claimed power. Brexit and the partnerships and relationships in relation to Brexit is really going to go against them. Okay, if there was a general election, the Tories would be penalised for the events of 2016, including allowing Cambridge Analytica, the controversy around them, the controversy around Nigel Farage. I think there's still more to come out on that. Was Russia involved? Okay. Now, again, the challenge there for the Tories is, it's almost like they've abused their power. Okay, so the Seven of Cups is coming forward around potentially issues and abuse. Okay, so that's telling me that there are real issues there for the Tories if there was an election held. Okay, this moon card is coming forward as secrets to be revealed. So if there was an election held in the UK, the reading here is that the secrets around Brexit, secrets generally around that legal advice that they obtain, which of course now has to be made public, the way that they've conducted themselves, the abuses that have come, potential abuses that have come forward around Brexit and other things, not governing for the people. Okay, again, this whole idea, there is a growing feeling I'm getting from these cards in the UK that the government just hasn't governed for them. There's a growing feeling, and it's coming from across the world. Now, in 2016, around the world, the populist governments exploited, the populist oppositions, and indeed governments, I guess, exploited this whole disenfranchisement from the electorate, with the electorate. But in England, it's like been there, done that. We don't want to hear from the populist right-wingers anymore. We saw what happened in America. We're not going down that path. This has been an absolute disaster. So it's likely that Labor would get a really good foothold if there was a general election held in England at this present time. So now we're going to move through to Australia. And that's something that I also know. I mean, not that I'm the expert on US politics, but I do a lot of research. I don't have to do as much research in Australia because I live it. Okay, so and it's I guess what I've seen is the birth of, not the birth of this populist right-wing movement, but certainly the foothold that it got was demonstrated so strongly in America. And so other Western democracies like Canada, it happened in England in 2016, they're older and wiser now. Canada, hopefully looking to the US and learning the lessons there. Little bit similar in Australia. There are two parties, the Liberal government, which is not progressive, okay? It's a different kind. The Liberal government is our right-wing government. The Labor government is our left or progressive government, okay? So they're the two situations in Australia. Scott Morrison heads the Liberal government, the right-wing government, we'll call it the right-wing government, and Bill Shorten heads the Labor government. Bill Shorten's an ex-union head. Scott Morrison, his credentials are in marketing, and there are issues around his success, or lack of success in his previous career. So Scott Morrison took over when Malcolm Turnbull, our centralist Prime Minister, was rolled. And Morrison is a member of the Hillsong Church. He's really conservative. We had a wonderful uprising of our students, our school students in Australia, who I think 15,000 of them protested against climate change. We'll do a reading on climate change. And it was marvellous to see. Now, Scott Morrison told them to go back to school and get an education. Where have you heard something like that before? Okay, where that kind of, cleverness, coming from a politician. I mean, how silly. How silly was Scott Morrison to say that? He's been hammered with it ever since. Our state right-wing governments have been massacred at our state. They're like our governor elections. Massacred. And it's coming from this really strong feeling amongst Australians that we do not want right-winged policies that seek to resurrect coal and take subsidies from renewables. We don't want someone who ignores climate change. We don't want a member of the church coming in and mixing up religion with politics. We've seen what's happened in America. We don't want that. Okay, having said that, let's just go to Scott Morrison and Bill Shorten. Bill Shorten's way ahead in the polls, okay? The Labor government is way... If there was an election held tomorrow, no, hands down, massacre for the right-wing government here. But let's have a look. If an election... we've got an election in March 2019. Let's have a look. I'll bring the laptop down here. Okay, so if we've got the Australian election coming up in 2019... Okay, would Scott Morrison win? Would Scott Morrison win? Would the Liberal right-wing government win over the Australian Labor Party in the election in 2019? Okay, so straight away I'm seeing the same abuse card that came forward in England, and this is around the electorate is disenfranchised with their government, okay? They feel that there's been abuses going on. This is coming forward. The rolling of our sitting Prime Minister that was voted in at the last election has really gone down like a ton of bricks in Australia. We feel that there's been an abuse there from the Liberal right-wing government to depose yet again another Prime Minister. This has been happening for 5 years. We're not happy. We are not happy with our government. Okay, the Knight of Wands. We want progress. Okay, this is what this is saying. We want action and we want progress and we want it now. So that's why if there was an election held, it would be an absolute massacre for the right-wing Liberal government in Australia. Okay, this abuse again. It's right through, the UK and this is where we've had these conservative right-wing governments. We feel like there's been an abuse here, and this is indeed what's happened in the midterms as well. People felt that their government, there were abuses going on, and this is like the theft. Okay, so taking away from the average family and giving to the rich. These I don't know why conservative governments don't just govern for everybody. If they did, they'd do a lot better. And the Queen of Swords, okay, this is the Labor Party being successful in March 2019. They want stability. I'll just bring it up here. The electorate is looking for stability in their government. They don't want change of leaders. After the Labor rolled Julia Gillard, who was our first female Prime Minister and a pioneer and a trailblazer, regardless of what people thought of her. Very strong leader, very capable leader. After she was rolled, the Australian Labor Party enacted a rule at the party level that it would require rank and file the actual members of the Labor Party, not just the caucus, to roll a Prime Minister. So it's making it almost impossible, not impossible, but almost impossible for politicians to roll their leaders. They would have to go out to the membership of the party, and that would the leader would only be deposed, I think it's by a 2/3 majority. So very, very difficult to roll a sitting Prime Minister. Now, the Liberal Party are enacting similar things now, but it's a little bit too late, all right? So this card is saying we want stability. We want truth, stability, and we want government for all. The ALP will take the election in 2019 unless something massively untoward happens. So at this stage, that's what would happen. The Australian Labor Party would romp at home. Okay, now we're just going to, because we want to have a look at America, we just asked the question. We don't know who's going to be leading the parties in 2020, but we can ask the question, Republicans or Democrats in 2020? Okay, let's ask that question. It seems like a no-brainer, but we will. Now, in relation to European countries, particularly Germany and Italy and the Scandinavian countries, I'm actually, because I'm not sure, well, Germany's just had an election. I'm actually going to read on that rise of the populist right-wingers, the fascism. I'm actually going to read on that, but I won't do that today. So we'll get round the globe, but let's go to America now. Trump. All right, 2020, I'll bring this down. 2020. Okay, are the Democrats going to win in 2020? Democrats. Actually, I'll just give this a good shuffle so we don't have any energies lingering from any of the other countries that we've read on. 2020 America. 2020 America. Are the Democrats going to win the presidency? 2020. Democrats going to win the presidency. 2020. The Democrats going to win. Sorry, I'm just going to move my phone. It's actually ringing and it's disrupting me. I had it on silent. I'll call them back. So, 2020, the Democrats going to be successful. Wow, God, I'm just getting, it's like, Jesus, sorry, it's just going to be a massacre of the Republican Party. It's like burnt crops. That's the Republican Party. They've burnt their crops. They've got nothing left. It's like a scarred landscape for the Republicans. Okay, so will the Democrats be successful? Okay, so, yes. Okay, so we've got the, I just got the image, before I drew that card, I got the image of, bright illumination, and like the sun card, which is success and illumination. And then this comes forward. This is rainbows. This is, yeah, absolutely. This is the families here. The average families are going to be triumphant. So, my feeling is that the Democrats obviously are going to be quite successful. This is reunions too, so it's reunions with all of their voters who may not have come forward in the 2016 election. And it's total support. Okay, so yeah. Okay, so the Ten of Pentacles. Again, this is almost like donations will be raining down for the Democratic candidates. There's going to be such a strong will to unseat them, and this is almost this is the benign sort of, I guess, it's almost like Father Christmas. It's like there's just going to be so much support there for the Democrats in 2020, and it's like a homecoming. Oh my goodness, these are all such nice cards after such bleak cards that we've been pulling, aren't they? This is like celebrations. Yes, the Democrats are going to win. Of course they're going to win. And this is the Queen of Swords, which we pulled in the Australian reader too. Voters, I'll bring this up here. Voters want stability and the truth. They want government for all. They don't want government for the moneyed elite, okay? And really the Queen of Swords is the truth, it's the liberty, it's all of those things. But it is also, queens are all about bringing stability after tumultuous times, chaotic times. Okay, voters will be coming out in drove to get rid of the Republicans, to restore stability to their country. Okay, what wonderful readings. I'm quite excited, quite energised, and that's saying something because I've had a busy week. All around the world, there's good news. But Trudeau, it's not a walkover. It's not a walk-in for Trudeau. There's really some political learning and maturing that he's got to do. He's really got to have a look at his policies and make sure that he's bringing everyone along with him and not just certain sections. If I were him, I would say have a look at, is it Teddy Roosevelt? Was he the Republican? If that's who I'm thinking of. If I were Justin Trudeau, I would say have a look at Teddy Roosevelt, Theodore Roosevelt, the 26th President of the United States. Now, he was actually, although a Republican, he was a progressive. And he did govern, he did things like empowered the press so that they would actually get to, unearth the corruption. So even though he was a Republican, he was quite progressive. But, governing for all, there's the lesson for Trudeau. But other than that, right round the world, UK, Australia, and particularly and most definitely in America, we're going to have progressive governments take power and Labor governments in UK and Australia. So that's a bit of a tour around the world at the moment. And as I said, we will get to Germany and because in Scandinavia there's this rise of. Don't forget that Europe is still dealing with the mass immigration from the war-torn Middle East, from Syria, places like Syria, and even to a certain extent in the African continent. Europe has immigrants have flooded in there, and so there's been this tension between it's a cultural tension. And I saw an ad in Denmark the other day, which they're actually going to put Muslims on an island. We did that in Australia as well. Asylum seekers are taken to an island. So there's real problems globally at the moment around this sort of meshing of cultures, trying to hold on to. It's like the nationalistic, trying to hold on to culture, not seeing it eroded in any way. And then you've got the rise of these right populists stoking these flames. So Europe has got some work, real hard work in front. But I'm hoping that what they've seen happen in America may be the tide might turn. We'll see. We'll have a look at that over the next couple of weeks. But I hope you enjoyed those readings. I'm heading back to the Outback tomorrow, so I'll be reading from there over the next week, like I did before. So I'll stay on the news and stay on the developments, and also we'll be taking a breather every now and again and remembering our higher selves, okay? So kicking it up from the world, out that physical plane, to looking at why is all this happening, and what lessons do we need to take, and what's coming along, for us. What are the opportunities and I guess the gains after such turmoil of the last couple of years. So I'll leave it there, viewers. Thank you again for supporting the channel, for donations, for all of that, for the comments, the lovely kindness that you send through that commentary feed. When I do get tired or I've got competing priorities, I go to that comments section and I go, that's why I keep doing this. It's because of the wonderful. It's more than support. It's actually the relationships that you develop with people, but it's also the interaction and the way that we cross borders to really unite under some universal themes. that is what impassions me. That really does. The way that, that I can sit here from somewhere else in the world and interact in some, really universal lessons for all of us, and be a watcher. Be a watcher in of our times. As you all are in that. In those comments where we're playing our role. Okay, so thank you again, and I will talk to you soon.